Free Golden Eagles for War Thunder. Download the app in the description below. Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to some P51-D10 gameplay. Now, out of all the possible P51s in the game, we're looking at another premium here. I've done a D20 video in the past, I've done a D5 video in the past, and I've done a D30 video a couple of months ago. And that's where I want to start this video off. A bit of an apology in regard to that video. It was quite faultily made. There's a couple of statements that I made in that video that were quite literally way off. And the reason that happened was because I was in this really kind of bubble of work, right? I was struggling to get footage for War Thunder, I had school assignments, I was rushing to get the video out. So what I ended up doing is I said that the plane could have a maximum barrel rating of 5.0, where the actual plane's performance could easily go even up to 5.7, and considering this is, after all, a P-51 that in World War II did in fact fight against, stuff like the 262, yeah, that video was, simply said, a little bit far-fetched. But regardless, here we are finally to set things straight with the P-51 series, because they are hands down some of the best and most enjoyable planes in the game to fly. But as with all American planes and all American teams, a couple of things have to be said about that. Climbing. You've got to climb, and you've got to climb the right way. The issue that I see still to this day happen on a daily basis is people climbing AFK, and people climbing in degrees that make no sense. Often people ask me, what degrees do you climb at? You shouldn't be climbing by degrees, you should be climbing by airspeed. So what I'm doing here is I'm regulating the actual airspeed at which I'm climbing by increasing or decreasing the degrees at which I'm climbing. So as I'm trying to keep the aircraft around the 290 kilometers per hour mark, if it goes too low, I'm going to be decreasing the rate of climb, and if it goes too high, I'm going to be increasing it. It's pretty simple, really. And this should go for all aircraft altogether. But of course, if you're lazy like me, and if you do have matches where you want to go and just, grind through a bunch of aircraft, then by all means, what you could do is go into a side climb, choose somewhere between 10 and 12.5 degrees, and just let it fly. But what people tend to do is they tend to climb directly into the center of the map at a very low incline, and then they get shot down because they're AFK watching some YouTube video. A second tip I'll give you for the P-51 series is use manual engine controls. With the majority of American aircraft, it comes down to the simplicity of use. I've got a manual engine controls tutorial, I'll put it into the description below, and there's really three things to the P-51. You've got the radiator control, which you can close down to about a third, so about 30% closed should be just enough to effectively still cool the aircraft but reduce the amount of drag. Then there's the propeller pitch, which you can easily set to 100, and unless you're diving at very extreme speeds, you want to decrease that to about 90. And last but not least is the supercharger gear, which I tend to switch at around 4,000 meters, but I'm sure somebody in the comment section will tell you the exact altitude at which the supercharger gear should be switched. And that's it. That's manual engine controls for the majority of American aircraft in a nutshell. So, if I return back to that first video on the D30 and just touch it for a second and say why it might have had a bit of a negative kind of feel to it, why I might have been a bit pessimistic about it. It was because the P-51 struggles to fly alone. Not so much that it struggles to fight the enemy in a 1v1, it struggles when there's too many aircraft for it to counter. And therefore the solution for the P-51s, and also in this case, for example, P-47s, is you need to get yourself a squadron. You need to get yourself at least 2 players, at the minimum, that are going to be helping you out. That means that you're going to be baiting for each other, that means that you're going to be holding altitude, spotting for each other, and working as a team. And so here I am joined with 3 squad mates, and to make things more interesting, I've recently turned off my chat completely. So this is a bit of a PSA here. If you message me in the game whilst I'm playing, I will not see your message pop up. If you call out an enemy, I will not see the message pop up. I've completely cut communication with the team. Half of it because I don't have the time to answer people's questions and read through chat, and also because chat is a huge distraction in the game. It's called a game for a reason. I'm here to play it and not have an interview with half of my team. But of course somebody's now going to tell me that I've now positively advertised that teamwork is just unnecessary in this game, and that is completely faulted. If you're in the game using chat to communicate to your team by pointing people out, using the in-game control commands which allow you to actually point players and tell, hey, I'm assaulting this guy right over here, there's a player over the other side of the map, there's a bomber over there, do it. The reason I don't need to do this in this particular match is because I'm confident that the four of us can easily handle the enemy team. We have brains, we have eyes, and with both in conjunction we know which aircraft to take out first and how. And really, that's what teamwork for me is. It's not about calling people out. It's not about, screaming in chat what somebody has to do and what somebody did wrong, who crashed, why they crashed, and mocking people. Teamwork is about looking and visualizing what's happening on the battlefield where and at what case, so that you can then react to it. What you're about to see is you're going to see a perfect execution of teamwork. We're flying in a pair of two. That means that two P51s are engaging one target, or rather, one is and the other one is covering him. And by doing this, you're drastically increasing your odds of survival. Now, of course, not every match is going to unveil this way, and this is the common problem. People, when they're looking for a YouTube tutorial, guide, tips and tricks video, whatever you want to call it, are looking for it to improve their flying skills. They're probably having a fantastically horrible time at flying their aircraft, and they want to get better at it. The issue is they tend to simply copy-paste the match that was showcased. In this case, this is the match you're going to be trying to copy-paste. It's not going to work that easily, because not every match is the same. The main difference is you'll be flying with a different team against a different team. And there's one thing about Warzone that you need to keep in mind, and this is a tip for life to remember, and I'm never going to stop repeating it. You have to be unpredictable. You have to make maneuvers and make decisions that the enemy isn't going to expect. And here is a perfect example of a double bait. Well, rather a baited execution. The A7M1 that I set afire put into a vertical means that the fire is going to spread faster because the aircraft is traveling slower. And the A6M5 put into a perfect stall position gets finished off by my P51 teammate. And even if he wasn't there, I would have actually gotten that kill because it was a perfect execution of a hammerhead. And from this point on, the match is over. You see, that's the trick about American planes. That's the real joy of them. Is as soon as you force the enemy team into submitting that altitude, that medium to high altitude, to you, they're done with. There's nothing they can do. 4 players, boom and zooming, we could finish off here, and I'm not joking, in excess of 10 players below us. And that's where the P51 really shines. If you're able to put it at an altitude advantage, if you're able to outplay the enemy, not so much with maneuvering them, but rather by taking a strategic approach. And whilst I agree that the strategy of going head-on with the Coyote 4Co is not a very good one when you're flying a P47M, which is a perfect high-altitude fighter, that did give me the opportunity of taking him out, as he was probably already damaged, tunnel visioned, and halfway stalled out. So, mid-match analysis, what's going on right now? We've got an A6M5 left at altitude, now being engaged by the teammate I baited for before, and a Focke-Wulf 190 Premium and an A6M5 are left down at low altitude, killing landing craft. And for a certain reason, I can't really blame them. Well, at least one of them. The A6M5, if he's flying his aircraft stock, probably is not making that bad of a mistake of going after landing craft, because Saipan is this match that is utterly biased towards the Americans. If the landing craft reach the actual airfields, they capture them, and it results into an immediate victory for the Allied team. The Focke-Wulf 190 Premium, however, is a premium. It comes spaded, and let me tell you that the Focke-Wulf 190 A5 that the Japanese get is one of the most interesting and amusing aircraft to fly, because it's a German fighter among the Japanese tech tree. And yet, that person decided that grinding through the Japanese tech tree will be best done by killing ground targets. Regardless, the favor from the start of the match gets returned here, as my teammate baits back for the A6M5 Horizon, and because of my high ping, and because of making sure this guy goes down before he manages to get a lucky snipe on the P51, I just sprayed a bit too much. But at the same time, that's one of the advantages you do get as a P51 pilot, plenty of ammunition. And speaking of ammunition, I just wanted to touch on this M250 cals. A lot of people complain about the performance of 50 cals. I'll tell you this thing, M250 cals are my favorite guns in the game, favorite shells in the game. They perform incredibly well, and if I had the option to, I'd choose these guns over the M350 cals any day of the week. But to the answer to the question, what shell should you use, I'm going to tell you this, I love using stealth, trace is not a bad option either, but at the end of the day, pretty much anything you pick is going to be setting things on fire and making a ton of damage. Now, out of the 2 targets left available, I go for the A6M5, my squad mate attacks the Focke-Wulf 90, I crit his left wing, set him afire, and he's out of the match. Meanwhile, the Focke-Wulf's also been taken out, and that's it. Not just a very effective match, a wipeout match, but a relaxful match. And of course you can say that, yeah, if the enemy team all climbed, and if this was an up-tier match, that then we would have had a bit of a different video here, and I agree with that. But at the same time, flying in a 4-man squad, when you know all pilots know what they're doing, is a massive advantage. And if you want one last final tip, I'll tell you this much. Try mixing up your P51s with British Air Forces. That means taking in a squad mate with, for example, a Spitfire. Hell, you can team up with the premium Spitfire LF Mark 9 from the American tech tree. 5.3, you'll be marginally up-tiering yourself, or if we use the right expression here, properly tiering yourself. As I do agree, looking back at it, that a 5.3 battle rating would have been much more suited for the P51. Anyway, hope you guys know the video. Let me know what you think about the P51s in the comment section below. In the background, you can see just how much RP this plane can grind you. It is, after all, a premium, as is the D20. And if you're looking for something to grind through the American tech tree, and if you do know that you have a couple of squad mates that you can trust with also flying the P51 or some similar aircraft, by all means, give it a try. It's more than worth your money. That's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Take care, and safe flying. And that was just the Leopard. Here comes a Kugelblitz. So immediately I turn the hole, and you can see just how slowly that turns. Aim for the center of the mass, go for the ammo rack, he blows up. But now I've got a slight problem. My track's been blown off, and the track repair here is a little bit high because I don't have any crew experience. And to make matters worse, not for me, but for the enemy team, here comes a King Tiger 105, just rolling from the side of the corner, completely oblivious, and